Greetings and salutations. I'm the fallen angel Christopher Daniels.
Hello, yes, Danhausen here, to tell you, deliver a very nice, very evil message, if you will.
This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your buddy, your pal, Scott Stanford.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
This is the former intellectual savior of the masses, now known as Aaron Stevens, your NWA third-degree national champion.
This is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the role model, and you are listening to Greg Morgan with Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I want to tell you, Greg, your buddy Howie, also known as Wheezy, as you call him, he told me all about your channel. I'm here to tell everybody that I've seen it, I've watched it, I've looked at it. I went down the rabbit hole and I couldn't get out of it. It was so good.
Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
Watch them 5 times a piece. That's right, I said 5 times a piece. Do it.
I know you've been a fan for like 40 years. I've only been doing it for 30, so I guess we're fans together there for 10 of it.
Do it.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Do it.
Good Mic Work is the place to be for all your wrestling information, guaranteed.
The best wrestling content is right here at Good Mic Work Commentary.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
Subscribe, share, love, like, poke, whatever you need to do.
If you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
Love that, Danhausen. Love that Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Do it now.
You're welcome.
What's up, guys? Happy Monday. How's it going? And welcome to your WWE Monday Night Raw review for November 2nd, 2020. And right off the bat, I got to ask you guys to hit me with your letter grades. Let's do an A, B, C, D, or F and find out what you guys are grading this Raw, because I got to tell you, even though I was a little bit distracted for most of the night, I thought this was kind of an underwhelming show. Wasn't doing a whole lot for me. Felt like it dragged a time or two. A couple of good moments in the ring and some decent matches, and I really liked the Fiend stuff and the Alexa Bliss parts of the show. I thought were really well done. But the show overall, you know, it's not getting me that hyped for Survivor Series, I suppose. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's something I was missing or if there's a part of the show that you guys really enjoyed. But as we go through it here, you know, nothing earth-shattering really took place. It felt like a throwaway show. Felt like a show that could be skipped in terms of what we're trying to get to. You know, at Survivor Series, they didn't lay the groundwork for a whole lot of anything new. They even did a couple of things that we predicted here last week on the show in terms of the Survivor Series team and the team members and all that stuff. So, you know, in my mind, this was a lackluster one tonight. But maybe everybody's mind is elsewhere. You know, it's election eve here in the United States, so a lot of people are distracted or whatever. Maybe that translated here to TV. I don't know. But for me, it just, you know, it wasn't a good Raw, aside from a couple of things. I will say this about AJ Styles. He seemed like he made a damn effective captain, don't you think? All right, I can be heard and seen. All right, let me see what we got here in the results so far from you guys. Big J, we got a C and C+, D, C, F, C-. Okay, yeah, C seems like it's kind. I'll go ahead and go with C too. I kind of agree with that because, like I said, there was a couple of things here that on the show that made me chuckle and I thought was somewhat good. And I really like, I suppose, the world title scene right now because they're kind of in this weird holding pattern situation with Orton, you know, slated to face Roman at Survivor Series. They're both going to be champion going into that. And that's, you know, probably the match they're going to go with, barring some change like they have done in recent years. But it looks like that's going to be it. So in between now and then, they can't really have any other title matches. So on Raw, we've got Orton with the biggest damn bullseye in his back I've ever seen. How would you like to be chased down, you know, by Drew McIntyre and The Fiend, and with a little maniac motherfucker with a briefcase running around too? So, you know, I'd be extremely nervous and anxious if I was WWE champion on the Raw brand, based on everybody that's coming after me and the fact that they're not really letting you know what Orton's next opponent is going to be. They're having everybody kind of target him here. I think that's a lot of fun. What I hope they don't do is like a 4-way or something, or a 3-way, maybe a 3-way, McIntyre, Orton and the Fiend, but they seem like they put the Fiend in an awful lot of three-ways. I don't know. So I'd almost opt out of not wanting to see that, but the fact that Orton has more than one direct challenger coming after him and chasing him at the same time and on the same show, I think is probably the best part of Raw right now, is the world title scene. So I've got very little to complain about in terms of that. The Hurt Business, I think, is still kicking ass. They're my favorite faction pretty much going right now in WWE. I think the Survivor Series team stuff is just meh. You know, I talked about that last week. I think brand supremacy is stupid. And like we predicted, as soon as they put Keith Lee on the team, I'm like, well, you know they're going to put Strowman on the team because they don't get along. And that's what you do on Survivor Series teams now. WWE got this crazy idea in 95 to do the wild card match and put heels and baby faces on the same team. And they've been doing it every damn year since, it seems like. So I put on Twitter tonight, I'm a little bit old-fashioned, but I like my Survivor Series team members to get along, and I like them to cut really, really intense, coked out group promos together, hyping up the match and, you know, really being there for the team. But instead, every year it's a mess, and I don't know, you know, from kayfabe it makes no sense, because if you're a wrestler with title aspirations and you're a singles wrestler, I should say, you know, how in the world does it benefit you at all to go out there and risk your career, risking injury because you're in the middle of a team who can't get along? You wind up getting injured, you know, by the opponents, and, you know, puts you on the shelf, you know, and, you know, your livelihood is threatened. There should be no incentive at all for the wrestlers to be on these teams. They shouldn't want to be on these teams unless they put something on the line, unless they give you an automatic bid in the Royal Rumble, or let you pick from the late numbers, or everybody gets a title shot in between now and WrestleMania if your team wins, or something like that, or a big purse, big winner's purse. You know, provide something like that to give these people a reason to want to be on a team. So what they did there, even though I think the AJ Styles captain stuff is a little bit interesting, I still just don't like the way Survivor Series teams are formulated here in modern times. They had that amazing match a couple years back that was like an hour long. That was great. But, you know, aside from that, I'm not really, you know, that psyched to see this match. Especially when it's going to be such a ridiculous clusterfuck. But anyway, we'll have enough to get into here, and enough meat on the bone. I'll cruise over here to the chat, say hi to you guys, let a few more watchers than this build into the chat here. If for any reason you haven't clicked the notification bell, please do. There was a gentleman up top here earlier, I think Mr. JJ Leg, said that he didn't get a notification about the stream, and it wasn't in his YouTube feed at all. So check your stuff there and make sure you're all notified and stuff, because that would explain my oddly low numbers in the past few weeks. But, you know, that's also the nature of YouTube. It just goes up and down. I'll probably have high numbers in a couple of months, but it's not uncommon for us to go through this. But we've heard for years, you know, about algorithm problems and people not showing up in feeds and getting unsubscribed from people, things like that. So make sure you're all up to date here, and smash that thumbs up button for me too. I'd appreciate it. Help me out with this Monday Night Raw review. I'll go out and knock out some of these super chats first. Big Dog is giving Raw an F. That's harsh. It wasn't a good show. I don't know if I'd go as low as F though. Daniel Rodriguez, appreciate the $2. Have you voted for Joe Biden yet? I have voted, and you're also giving the show a C+. Anything I'll mention about tomorrow, we'll kind of do at the end here. Because I hope everybody did go out there and vote regardless of who you're voting for. Barry, appreciate the $2, dude. Greetings from Hawaii. 20 years ago, they'd tell us to smack down our vote. I remember going to shows, and you could register to vote at WWE shows. They were promoting that big, I think in the year 2000 for the 2000 election. And I went to a lot of shows that year. Daniel, if you're here in the chat, show yourself. You can attest to this. We would go in, and they would have like booths set up to where you could actually register to vote. It was, it was the Smackdown to Vote campaign. They had people... I remember people like in the audience going around, like even if you didn't catch the shit when you're coming into the building, they were like going around handing out information or something like that on vote registration. So, which is ironic how that turned out, because that was the year they had the big crazy recount in Florida and all this crazy stuff. So WWE was really pushing that. And I thought, you know, in the face of, you know, what was a company during the Attitude Era that was getting a lot of flack from the media for the violent nature and the sexual content and all of the, you know, more racy type of stuff that they were promoting, you know, at the same time, they were trying to do something good by trying to encourage their, you know, young audience who now is of that age. You know, they're no longer targeting the 10 to 12 year olds. Now they're now targeting the 18 plus. And when you're 18, you can vote. So the fact that they were trying to get their massive audience numbers at that time registered to vote was a really cool thing to do, I think, and a lot of fans did sign up to vote. I remember that well. Aaron, thanks, dude, for the $2. Yeah, I don't think so, man. I mean, I'm all for, I don't understand like kind of confidence, but I'm just telling you, if I am a supporter of a candidate that have such a bleak outlook, I am nervous as hell. It just doesn't, the path isn't there, the math isn't there, the numbers aren't there. I'd be shitting my pants if I was on the other side. So yeah, whatever, dude. Appreciate the $2. That's awesome. Thank you, man. And we're here for you, man. You're not blocked. You're not excommunicated. Everybody's welcome here. Just don't be a dick. That's all. And you certainly weren't being one. Appreciate that, JJ. Yeah, I mean, it's weird how that works with the bells and stuff. I don't know. I don't notice that problem too much with the people that I subscribe to. But I do go like little gaps there where somebody that, I'm watching a lot of videos of, all of a sudden they kind of just disappear for a while, and then I almost like forget about them and come back a couple months later. I'm like, oh yeah, how come I haven't seen their videos pop up lately? So I think we all deal with that. I don't subscribe to a ton of people, but I do notice little gaps in there and how their stuff is featured. Even if they are uploading regularly, I don't always see it. Even if I am watching it, it still sometimes doesn't come up. It's weird. YouTube's a mess. I need to hop off this Titanic and get over to Twitch or something. Maybe Spotify goes to video one day. Keep a lookout, man. But anyway, that Captain Styles, I liked that. I liked it. At first, I kind of rolled my eyes when he was coming out there wanting to be the captain, but the way the segment went, I almost liked it in the end. I think he should be the captain. Little AJ, he got these guys to shake hands and hug, man. That's there's got to be something to be said for that. So AJ's a leader, man. Captain AJ. I love it. Good to see you, K-Dog's Kennel. Welcome back. Oh, yeah, thank you, Zane. Oh, man, yeah, there wasn't many people that entered, but I just did it over on Twitter. The winning number was 109, and the winner is actually Spaz Phoenix. He came really close. I think he was within 9 numbers of the number, and it was between 1 and 300. And the number was 109, and I think he either had 99 or he had 101, something like that. So the winner is Spaz Phoenix. Spaz, if you're here, show yourself. Shoot me a DM over on Twitter and give me your address and everything, and I'll drop that in the mail to you immediately. But not tomorrow. I don't think I'm leaving the house tomorrow. But we'll see. But Zane, I appreciate all of your contributions yesterday. You were the man. Chris, what's up, man? Appreciate the $5. Back on the East Coast, seeing family for a week. It's odd watching you at 11 p.m. Anyways, what's your dream 5-on-5 elimination match? Oh my God, I'd have to give that some thought. Yeah, it is. Probably is weird watching me on the East Coast. It's still quite early here out in California. Well, that's great. I hope you're having a good time out there and enjoy your time with your family. Dream 5-on-5, it would probably have to be something Randy Savage and Bret Hart related. Maybe make them the captains of each team. I saw that question posed on Twitter today, actually. If you had a Savage and Bret Survivor Series team, who would be on their teams? And I don't know, man. I don't know who I'd put. I'd almost put like Savage with Shawn, but I'd also want like Savage against Shawn. So I'd have to give that some thought. We'll come back to that at the end when we're just shooting the shit. Just remind me later. And we'll talk dream Survivor Series scenarios. K-Dog's Kennel, you'd love to see Randy hold the title until WrestleMania 37, drop it to Edge. I'd love it if Randy Orton dropped it to Edge. I am all on board with the nostalgia run for Edge, even if it's short. When people come back and get the title like The Rock or Hogan, I think Edge is more than worthy of that type of treatment, and I think the fans would, accept it. They put the belt on Goldberg and everything, and Edge is still good. Edge can still have dynamite matches even after taking 10 years off, even in his late 40s. Give him a run now while he can still do it, and it might be just a little bit better of an ending for him, when it finally is over. And it doesn't have to be a long run. 2 months is all I need. 2 months is all I need. I don't need anything crazy. I just want to see it, experience it for a while, and just be personally happy for Edge. And don't overstay your welcome. Where that might have happened in the past with like other champions that they did this with. Don't overstay your welcome to where the fans start to turn on you, because you know how they can be. And if they give them a nice little run that's short, concentrated, and fun, and kind of heartwarming at the same time, I think that is just great for Edge and great for his career. And hell, I wouldn't even, if he's going to stick around for a while and that 3-year deal is still going to play out the way they planned, I would love to see Edge just give another shot at being a heel, just for fun. Might be fun. I think the fans would be cool with it. So And he's much less likely than Goldberg, than Hogan to do a whole bunch, and Rock for that matter, honestly, and The Rock, to really have a lot of botches in matches and stuff. Edge is, he works out, he trains hard, he takes it seriously, and, he's just in better kind of ring shape, I think, than some of those guys. So I'm all on board with Edge winning the title. Whether it be a WrestleMania, though, I don't know. I almost think earlier. I almost think having Roman drop it at WrestleMania is a little bit more meaningful. Now, if Roman goes into the WrestleMania to face The Rock or something, then you're not going to see a title change there, or Roman might not even be champion going into that. Title won't be a factor. I think Roman will win. But if Roman's facing like the Rumble winner, he might lose. So if Roman goes up against The Rock, then you can do the Edge and Orton thing at WrestleMania. That'd be great. 1 year after their long match that got a lot of criticism from some fans, coming back and having a great like in-ring classic and Edge winning the title. Sure. Undertaker can win the Universal Championship. Let's hope not. He could do that on Survivor Series just for the hell of it, but I think I'm okay with no on that at this point. Made my peace, man. We got a 6-part Last Ride episode. There's some great Undertaker content on the WWE Network right now that I plan on checking out tonight. Sorry that I haven't yet. You guys have been telling me to. So I'm kind of content with that, in terms of Undertaker. Because we've seen how it can go south kind of when he's in the ring these days. So I'm happy with how I feel about him being done. But anyway, let's cruise over and start knocking out these WWE Raw results for November 2nd. Now, this is the build to Survivor Series. We are 20 days away, so just a little bit under 3 weeks away from Survivor Series, where they're setting up mostly champion versus champion matches and 5-on-5. So we know we've got Asuka versus Sasha Banks. That's her name, right? We've got Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton. We have Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn, which is interesting because we all remember the nonsense that those two guys went through when Lashley kind of first came in, and the obstacle course and Lashley's sisters and all that stupid shit. The fact that both of these guys are now champions and both in a little bit more serious of a position on the card, even though Sami Zayn is still a complete goofball. This match now is something that is kind of interesting, especially if they play into some of the stuff they did before. Not recreate it, but at least make mention of it, or talk about how different things were the last time they came face to face. And now they're kind of both heels, and that should be fun. I'm kind of looking forward to that match. It's just a random sleeper hit of Survivor Series, one that turns out to be more entertaining than we think it's going to be. Just keep your eye on that. I don't know. Something about Lashley and Zayn intrigues me. I don't know why. I'm just out of my mind. But anyway, show opens up with Randy Orton coming out to the ring to talk some smack, talk about that he's no longer the legend killer. He's a legend himself. I'm sure there's a suicide joke in there somewhere, but we'll lay off that. He is considering himself now, a Rushmore guy, statue-worthy type of thing. Goes on to lay down a challenge, basically, saying, hey, no matter who it is, I will put you down, and allows anybody who wants to come out and test him to come out to the ring. And that's when we hear Alexa Bliss's music. That would be an interesting match. Alexa comes out. She's got her whole fiend persona going on. She's very kind of childlike. She looks like she's having the time of her life doing this stuff because I don't know. It just oddly fits her. I can't explain it. She gets into the ring and she doesn't say much. She just kind of looks a little bit crazy. She's got the white gloves on that say play and pain on them. She drops down the one that says play. It just says pain. Orton immediately looks around. He knows he's about to get ambushed, and she kind of giggles and said, maybe he's here. And that's when the lights go out, and Orton thinks he's going to get ambushed by the Fiend, but he gets ambushed by Drew McIntyre instead, who nails him with a Claymore and goes on to dare him. I dare you, Randy, to give me my rematch. So Drew is still out to get that rematch. After Drew is done laying out Randy Orton, that's when The Miz comes out. So they set this whole thing up perfectly. All three guys that are chasing the title right now showed up in this one segment alone in some form or another. I mean, the Fiend showed up, vicariously through Alexa, but they all made their presence known here just to show, Randy Orton that he always has to be looking over his back, which I like that when it happens to a character like Randy Orton, because he's always been the Viper. He's been the one to, coil and strike when you're not looking, out of nowhere, from behind. You always got to keep your eyes peeled when you're dealing with Randy Orton. Now the tables are turned on him, and it's interesting to see how he copes with that. kind of as a heel. So all of that I like, and I just like that the title situation is it's crowded, and it's also fun because you really don't know what the hell's going on. And since we have some time to kill between now and Survivor Series, getting on the other side of Survivor Series, where McIntyre's opponent can officially be named, or opponents, for I guess what will be TLC in December. You got some time to really play here, and I think they can have fun with this. If this segment was any indication of what they can do every week, might be fun leading up to that. So I think all that's great. Miz comes out after Orton gets laid out with the briefcase to cash in. They get as far as making the announcement, but the bell never rings. Drew McIntyre has none of it. He attacks the Miz, kicks his ass, who Morrison is there too. He kicks Morrison's ass, throws him over the top rope, and he goes, nobody's going to beat Randy Orton for the title but me. So he's got that crazy pride. If I'm Drew McIntyre, I would help the Miz beat Randy Orton. That way I can just beat the Miz, who would be easy as hell to beat if you're somebody like Drew McIntyre. But McIntyre wants to beat Orton, and that whole segment I thought was a pretty solid opener, there. And I don't know when it's going to finally happen with some sort of confrontation in the ring with Randy Orton and Roman Reigns, and that's a good question to pose to you guys in terms of that match at Survivor Series, Randy Orton and Roman Reigns. What kind of finish do they do there? It seems like, they're setting things up. They're kind of planting the seed here for Drew McIntyre to maybe make his presence known in that match. They could do a DQ, which I really hope they don't. But given the fact that McIntyre is attacking Orton every chance he gets, and they're kind of doing the storyline where McIntyre just wants his rematch, Orton could just hold off and not give him that rematch, and then we get to Survivor Series and Drew interrupts himself in the Orton and Roman match. Maybe helps Roman win. I want to get a finish here, but I don't think Roman should lose. So I think Randy Orton should lose, but maybe don't get his ass beat clean. Maybe have McIntyre come in, hit him with a Claymore, allow Roman to beat him. Maybe even do a quick little stare down in the ring between Roman and Drew, because that's a match that WWE's hinted at. Triple H even had the balls to say that it was like Hogan and Flair, which I disagree with, but it is still a pretty intriguing matchup if both of these guys are as strong as they've been looking for the past year. I know we saw them work at 35, but if they're setting something up for down the road, could be a good place to do that at Survivor Series. Maybe just have them come face to face and look at each other, and then that's it. No physicality, no nothing. See what happens down the line type of thing. So maybe they do that. What I absolutely don't want to see is some sort of a schmaz or some sort of a DQ. I don't want to see another championship diminished to be made to look like the lesser title or anything like that. But sometime, not in this match anyway, where a couple of years ago you had Brock Lesnar beating Daniel Bryan, but that was different. So I don't know. What kind of finish do you book in that? Basically is what I want to know from y'all. Like, how would you do it? You could have The Fiend show up too. You could have The Miz out there to take advantage. And I don't think, I know that the briefcase was previously on SmackDown. The Miz could be in a prime opportunity. You guys have got to explain to me the rules, if there is any that even exist to this stupid green toy. But now that the briefcase is on Raw, it only can be against the WWE champion, right? Or am I wrong? Does The Miz have the opportunity to come in there and choose which person he cashes in on if he jumps in there in the middle of the Roman Reigns Drew match? So they could do a tease there. I don't think The Miz will cash in there. I don't think it'll happen. But if you get everybody involved in that match, The Fiend and McIntyre and The Miz, and then you toss in a Jey Uso or someone like that, then it really gets crazy, and, who knows? Jey Uso this past Friday fell in line with Roman Reigns, so Uso could be out there to help Roman get the victory as well. There's a whole bunch of things that can happen. I'm almost 100% convinced there's going to be some outside interference here with a Roman victory. Anything other than that is going to be strange to conceive it. I don't want to see Roman get pinned. Not till WrestleMania. So the only option here is for Orton to lose or a DQ. Something like that. Yeah, thanks, Diet Water. Haven't been in a stream in a while. It's your first one. Well, don't get excited about the big AEW belt. That is the toy. I just thought it was cool to have one. I bought one on Walmart.com. Cost me about $20. But I was like, I'm not going to bite the bullet and buy the actual replica. Plus, I got already 3 on the wall. But I like the AEW belt, and I wanted something AEW related hanging in the background. So I appreciate it. But It's not a big piece of wrestling merchandise. It's plastic, but it looks good, right? My girlfriend's got the Winged Eagle toy belt, and it looks really good. Even the little toy ones look good. Like if I would have had that as a kid, I wouldn't have known what to do, man. If I was 8 years old and I had one of those belts, I would have really thought I was the champion. Back in those days, in the early 80s, you had to, I think I made belts out of cardboard. I had a good idea, made a belt out of an old bath towel. I asked my mom, I was probably 9 or something, 10, and I asked her if I could have a big bathroom towel that was kind of worn out. And she goes, yeah. I was like, can I cut it up? And she goes, yeah, what for? I'm like, I'm going to make a belt. So I cut it. I traced it, and then I cut the fabric to be in the shape of a belt. And then I took some stuff and some shit and I plastered it on. And I kind of drew a face plate, and it actually looked pretty good for something that was manufactured. But little did I know, for as little as $21.99, you can have a pretty authentic looking toy. And 8-year-old me is jealous. Let's just put it that way. But welcome back, Diet Water. Up next on Raw, we had, so big surprise here. This match was announced earlier on in the week. Guitar on a pole match. Jeff Hardy versus Elias. I think in the nature of the election tomorrow, they should have made it like Guitar on a Pole, like P-O-L-L instead of P-O-L-E, just for fun. But this match I was not looking forward to. I'm sick of guitar shots. This whole situation between Hardy and Elias has been somewhat annoying because it feels like a carbon copy of everything that Elias has ever done. Every single opponent he has, the feuds go this way. And it's just, it's a trading of guitar shots, which is even being 50-50 booked. I was trying to do the math here. I think prior to this match, each guy had hit the other twice with the guitar. And I'm like, why does it have to be so damn even? And then, like I said, when Elias first came back on week 1, what did I say right on this very podcast? On the Raw review, I said my biggest fear is that given Elias's talents and his plugging of this new album and the fact that he does have this talent and this gift of singing and playing guitar, he's been off for so long with this injury, but he's back, and within the first week, you feel like he never left. He's right back there being the exact same Elias in the exact same feuds, in the exact same scenarios. And what did I say? As the biggest pet peeve of mine is that every single segment involving Elias, whether he's a heel or a babyface, it does not matter. Every time he plays the guitar, somebody interrupts him. That is that's just their rinse and repeat storyline that they use or angle that they use for him in every single week. You're never surprised by it. It's never intriguing. It's never creative. And sure enough, he's in the ring prior to the match. He gets about 10 seconds into a song, Jeff Hardy's music hits, and he comes out, and we have our match. So again, it's just same old Elias. In the end, Jeff Hardy gains control of the guitar, bashes Elias over the back with it, and wins the match. So he beats Elias, and I think that's a shame. I think Elias is capable of so much more than just being, I hate to say it, Elias. He's just he's got such a good look, and he's got charisma, and what he lacks in the ring, he makes up with in so many other areas that it's frustrating to watch him do nothing of substance. I'm hoping one day he gets there, but I'm not optimistic. After that, we had first match and some double duty for Nia Jax tonight. Nia and Shayna defended the tag team titles. I did not think this was a tag title match. They announced this earlier on in the week, and unless I missed it or whatever, but it is for the women's tag team titles, defending against Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. They came close. Mandy and Dana, who I think, even though they're strangely and oddly just slapped together tag team, and the first time I saw them together, I thought it was a little bit silly because I thought they just dropped the Mandy and Otis thing, and it's like they forgot it ever happened, and they're moving her in a different direction. But she makes a pretty good team with Dana Brooke. They've gotten better. I think they've improved, and Dana has vastly improved over the years, and she's shown a lot of heart, because we are not kind to Dana Brooke. Fans for the most part view her as a jobber, and she doesn't have a lot of credibility, but she hasn't let that get her down. She's still been working hard, and you have seen improvements in what she can do. And I think her and Mandy Rose are oddly gelling rather well. But unfortunately here, they didn't give them that long of a match. I think maybe 4 or 5 minutes is all it went. But Dana was, hurting on Shayna Baszler a little bit. At one point, they even had Shayna Baszler pinned. But Lana was out there trying to help Mandy and Dana as well. And the referee was distracted or something. Oh, I'm sorry. It was Shayna who had one of the other gals pinned, is what it was. And Lana had accidentally distracted. She was out there trying to help Dana and Mandy Rose, but she kind of screwed up and allowed Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax to get the win. And then after that, we knew what was coming. They beat the crap out of Lana and then start to leave, but then Nia just stops in the entranceway, and that's when I just started typing. As soon as Nia stopped, I just wrote down, and Lana goes through a table. So she returns and puts Lana through a table, I think, for like week 7, excuse me, something like that. So anyway, still tag team champs there, and that would leave Nia Jax to take on Lana later on. Or did I get that wrong? They had a match later, right? That's right. All that happened later on. I'm meshing the two of them together in my mind. Later on, Nia Jax, because she's upset about Lana's crap that she pulled in the match, they have a match together. Nia Jax squashes her. That's when she starts to leave, turns around, comes back, put her in the table. So just put all that together. In the end, it doesn't matter. I don't know what the direction is going to be for Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax at this point. I've kind of seen all I need to see of them as a tag team. I liked them at first because I found it very entertaining how they were not getting along, how they talked so much shit to each other. But you're seeing less of that lately, and I think I don't find Nia Jax really any less annoying than anybody does. She doesn't do a whole lot for me when she's on TV. The situation with Shayna is what it is, but I think it should just wrap up soon, and then have them figure out, because after Survivor Series, Asuka needs somebody to work with, and it's probably going to be one of those two based on who's on the roster right now. So maybe tonight was a grooming for Mandy and Dana. You also have the very odd tag team of Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans is also a thing, which is just silly to break up the Iconics to just put Peyton Royce with another person, and it's going to be the same team or whatever. You might have some new teams targeting, but I don't know. I'd probably put the belts on somebody on another brand rather than who they have on Raw currently at the moment. What's going on with my other monitor there? I'm trying to fix that. Let me just turn that off so I don't have a blue light in my face. I agree with Pan there on that one. I'd love to shorten Raw from 3 hours to 2 hours, but they just won't do it. In terms of advertising and the money they pull in for that third hour, it's just the way it has to be. But lately, though, I think there's been worse times where Raw 3 hours to me is never good, but I feel like there's been some times recently, even prior to COVID, even with fans still here, that we were just like, where we really felt like Raw was a chore. Even though I think tonight's Raw was underwhelming, it didn't feel like that much of a chore. There was enough entertaining things on here to make me not hate myself. What do I have next there, since I got that Nia Jax shit screwed up? R-Truth. We get the R-Truth match next. This was funny. R-Truth comes out to the ring. He's interviewed by what's-her-face, Misty Carmichael, and she asks him about his thoughts on his upcoming match with Bobby Lashley. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm facing the Waterboy. He thinks he's facing Bobby Boucher from the Waterboy, which is, he's always so misunderstood. It cracks me up. So she's like, no, you're facing Bobby Lashley. And he kind of gets a little scared and was really hoping it was just going to be the Waterboy. So Hurt Business music hits, and poor R-Truth is about to get some high-quality Hurt 2-0 because Lashley came out. It did not take him long to beat the absolute crap out of him in the match, hit him with a really cool spear in the match where R-Truth did a complete backflip. This is a guy that's like 50 years old, keep in mind. R-Truth sold that like $1 million, and then Lashley picked him up and beat him, made him tap out with the Nelson from The Simpsons or whatever R-Truth called it, nailed him with a full Nelson, and then after the match continues to beat him down after that. So poor R-Truth has been completely killed. That brings out Drew Gulak to attempt to win the title. Lashley says, oh, hell no, beats the hell out of Drew Gulak, puts him in the full Nelson, and then picks up his lifeless body and just throws him right on top of R-Truth. And Drew Gulak got the pin. So Drew Gulak has won the 24/7 title. I'm sure next week R-Truth will win it back for his whatever title it'll be, 45th, something like that. I'm really hoping they get him to 100, but I think they need to pick up the pace here if they want to get that done. So congrats to Drew Gulak for a really hard-fought, really grueling, hard-fought victory over R-Truth. He put on an absolute wrestling clinic in the ring. Hats off to that guy, a true worker's worker, man's man. Way to go, Drew Gulak. Great performance. AJ Styles was up next. AJ Styles comes out to the ring. Of course, he qualified to be a part of the Men's Survivor Series team last week, and he's proclaiming himself to be the captain. He said he's the captain reporting for duty, and based on his track record, his resume, his legacy, everything he's done in WWE, he is the, perfect and most qualified person to be the captain. It is hard to argue with him. He then begins to introduce the current qualified members of the team, starting with Sheamus and then Keith Lee. And what did I say last week? I was like, what they're going to do is they're going to put Strowman on the team too, because that's just what they fucking do. And I don't like that because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. I know that's part of the fun. A lot of years now, especially in modern times, this is a regular thing. Heels and baby faces together, guys who are feuding, forced to coexist. They've been doing this all the way back from the wild card match back in 1995 to the Alliance versus WWE match in 2001. I was at that show, and you had The Rock and Chris Jericho on the same team. They weren't getting along. You had some combustible elements there, so a lot of times that's part of the fun, but it's just so super ridiculous now that it doesn't make any sense because, number one, you're representing your brand, but you just had a draft 2 weeks ago, and prior to that, everybody was on the same show anyway. There's no reason to have any sort of love for your brand unless they put something on the line, which they haven't announced anything like that yet. But I really like the idea of your team picking numbers from the higher half of the Rumble pool. You get to pick from numbers 15 through 30. Something like that would be, to me, a reasonable prize for something like this. Put something on the line. Put something at stake. Brand supremacy means dick. And like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, if you're looking at this from a kayfabe perspective and you're a singles wrestler aspiring to win championships, why would you want to be in this match with two monsters, two absolute fucking mooses like Keith Lee and Braun Strowman who hate each other? You can get caught in the middle, get injured, and you're on the shelf, and your livelihood and your money is compromised, because you put yourself in a dangerous situation. It makes no sense for the talent to want to be a part of this unless there's something on the line. So that's my number one biggest problem with these Survivor Series matches. The matches can still deliver in the ring. A couple years ago, they went an hour, blew the roof off the building and set wrestling Twitter on fire. One of the best 5-on-5 Survivor Series matches of all time. But the grandpa in me, as somebody that's watched all the Survivor Series from the very first one, I kind of like to see a team where they're all together. They don't even have to be all baby faces because I know that's kind of unreasonable for modern times, but they at least have to get along, temporarily and be on the same team. Remember back in the day when they would have the entire team, just cut an intense, coked out promo with Mean Gene where they're screaming and yelling and amping each other up and slapping each other in the face and getting each other hyped. I liked all of that. So you don't really see that here, although AJ Styles might be ready to turn this franchise around. I think so, because he really asserted himself as an effective, I think, team captain whenever they make this stupid decision final. But anyway, all three guys are out there. Three current members of the team. That brings out Strowman. Just like I said last week, they're going to add him to the team because that's what they do. He comes out there. He wants to be on the team. Not only should he be on the team, but he should be the captain. That brings out old Adam Pearce, and he decides to make a triple threat match. This I did not like because it also makes no sense. They make a triple threat match where Braun Strowman, Keith Lee, and Sheamus will battle in a triple threat. If Braun Strowman wins, he's on the team. Again, this is stupid. It makes no sense. Now you're having your guys fight each other. You're fighting to. It's like what MJF and Jericho are doing the same thing. They're fighting each other in order to team up with each other, and it's kind of strange. I don't think it makes much sense why he's fighting guys that have already qualified. They should make this a qualifying match to where Strowman faces two other guys, and then the winner qualifies instead of facing his own team members. But I guess they couldn't go 1 week without having Sheamus and Keith Lee have a match. We get to the triple threat match. That's up next. It's good. These are three big guys, and for a big, beefy match like this, I thought it was hard-hitting and entertaining at times. They even did the big triple suplex spot off the top rope, and that's not cruiserweights doing that. That's three guys that are, two of them are nearly 400 pounds, and the other one's, about 280? So, doing a spot like that is ridiculous. That was fun. In the end, Braun Strowman does win. He gets an official spot on the team. A lot of pushing and shoving after the match. AJ Styles gets in there, and he starts separating the guys. He gets them all in check. His big, humongous 9-foot bodyguard barely moves during all this, by the way. But AJ, kind of pushes the guy. He's giving them lectures. He's pointing in their faces. Come on, we got to get along. And little AJ convinces these maniacs to actually shake hands. He gets Sheamus and Lee to shake hands. He gets, does he get Strowman and Lee to hug, or Strowman and Sheamus to hug? He gets these motherfuckers hugging. And so I'm like, damn, AJ, way to go. I even start writing on Twitter, AJ is an awesome captain. And as soon as I send the tweet, it all goes to shit and it implodes and all the guys start brawling with each other again. But it was a good effort and a good try by AJ Styles. I like the fact that he is able to somehow control these monsters like that. And he is sort of a voice of reason. And they kind of, no pun intended, fell in line with AJ there. So we'll see. That could be some fun TV in the next couple of weeks, having little AJ, have to deal with all these guys. And I guess there's one more spot to be filled later on in the show. Sheamus would offer that spot to Drew McIntyre, but he turned it down, at least for the time being. So they could add Drew, but whoever they add, I hope it's like somebody really big, like a physically big, because I want to see little AJ, be in charge of all these guys that are 3 times bigger than him. It's funny. It's kind of like how he's comically smaller. Like they got the biggest guy possible to be AJ Styles' bodyguard, because he comes up to like his waist. It's just visually hilarious looking. So I kind of want to see AJ try to captain 4 guys, all of which are at least double his size, and in some cases maybe more. So maybe they'll throw Big Show in there or something. But I still think there's time to add Drew to the team. He turned it down initially. Him and Sheamus kind of have their little bromance there that's been going on for years. And they've got a friendship there, so we'll see next week or whatever if McIntyre accepts an offer. What I think they might do a throwback to 91 when Jake and Savage had their beef. And given the fact that Randy Orton has been attacked by Drew McIntyre a couple of times, maybe they do a deal where Adam Pearce says, Drew, you're suspended, or you're barred from Survivor Series or something like that. Like, you can't show up in the building. But then he finds himself to get on the team just so he can be in the same building as Randy Orton and get to Randy Orton. They did that with Randy Savage. He was able to squeak his way onto a 1991 team just so he could be in the same building as Jake the Snake Roberts, type of thing. So they could do something like that, and McIntyre could still get on the team. But whoever it is, like I said, I just hope it's somebody that's large, and AJ just looks hilarious in the middle of all these guys trying to keep them in line. After that, we had an Angel Garza promo. He's backstage with a rose, and I don't think he said anybody. I think he's referring to some lucky lady that he's going to give this rose to. So I don't know what happened to the girl. What happened to the girl that was on TV? She's gone. I know he liked Charlie for a while too. He's not into Chuck. So he seems to have found himself a new person to target. I'm wondering if that person might be Mandy Rose, and that draws the ire of Otis sometimes. But then, you could do that because with the Survivor Series, I don't know, maybe you could get them together that way somehow. But you're going to start a feud between guys on different brands, so that might not work. But he's got his eye on somebody, and I guess it's going to make us wonder who it's for. So who is the rose for? Maybe it's a dude. Who knows? Don't rule anything out these days. That's a good one. Dabba-Kato. Not only do they have to be big, though, I think they also have to have an issue with people on the team, which Dabba-Kato does with the Strowman stuff dating back to the Raw Underground days. He could work Real American. I'd be into that. I owe you guys some Super Chat answers. I'm going to get to those in just a second. Let me talk about this next order of business. The Firefly Funhouse. That was up next. Fun segment this week. Alexa has been a part of these, I think the last 3 that they've done. She was here already. They start talking. She's got the big grin on her face. Bray Wyatt's right next to her. Abby speaks up in the background and says Orton can go fuck himself. And of course they bleep that. And then they do a bunch of smash cuts to a few years back. I think it was 2017, when Orton and Bray were working together, and Orton burned down the house and he killed the grave of Sister Abigail or whatever he did. Didn't he kill her or something? I think he murdered Sister Abigail and burned the house down. So he did some shit. So I can understand Orton not being Abby's favorite person. She also kind of tells Alexa that she can go fuck herself too, which was funny. Alexa then says that she's got a new trick that she's been working on that she wants to show everybody. The lights go down and they turned into like fiend red, and she kind of they go a lot of close-ups on Alexa's face. They do a close-up of her face, and she kind of looks up, and she's got the funny looking eyes or whatever, and then she just starts like spitting out this like blood looking stuff, but it's like more ooze. It's like a red slime more than anything else, and Bray goes, "Holy shit," right into the camera, and that was it. So, like I said, I think Alexa, this is probably the best angle that she's been involved in ever, because, you know, much like Roman Reigns, it shows a different side of her, you know, and the fact that she's not one-dimensional, and when she's put in something this batshit nuts, she can do it, and she's good at it. She's real good at it. You know, I've said that before. Like, I always thought that if there was going to be a female added to Bray Wyatt's, you know, little gimmick here, it would be, you know, somebody more of a darker look and feel and attitude. And instead, they went in the opposite direction and put Alexa Bliss there. And not only does it work, it works well. So good for them. And they wouldn't be done because Alexa would be seen later on. Now, did I even mention the stuff in the beginning with Randy Orton? I didn't. By the way, Alexa did show up in Randy Orton's opening promo. Oh, wait, I think I did mention that. Yeah, I did. Never mind. Sorry. Just forgot. So, did we get one last week? I can't remember the Funhouse segment, how they're gapped out. Are we getting one of these every other week, or is this 3 weeks in a row now? I forget. But anyway, it was a fun segment, and it's really fun to see, you know, kind of Alexa in this light. She's really good. After that, we got that Nia Jax match that I mentioned earlier on, where she completely squashed Lana and put her through a table. Still don't know what the motivation internally by WWE is with doing this. Is this a knock on Rusev? Is this a punishment for Lana? Are they just, you know, trolling her? Are they just messing with her? What are they doing? I don't know. I thought at first it was kind of funny, you know, when it was happening at first. I'm like, oh, it might lead to something, but they're not even setting you up here for any sort of a redemption story with Lana, because no matter what, not only does she made to look like an idiot every week, the fans don't give a shit about her at all. Nobody believes in her. Nobody thinks she's, you know, capable of anything. So she's not getting any sympathy there. So it would be one thing if they were doing this in order for Lana to have, you know, some great moment in the sun, and then I'd kind of be behind something like this, but it doesn't look like this has any other sort of an ending other than bad for her. And it just makes you wonder if it's more spiteful type of behavior from WWE, which is what they do, and which makes them the assholes that they are. So I don't know, but Lana got shit on again for the 7th week in a row tonight. All right, before we get into the Hurt Business promo and the following match with the New Day, let me just cruise up here and knock out the supers that I missed. Chris, I got you. Oh, Devlin, there you are, man. Sorry I missed that one earlier. Appreciate the $5. Holy shit, just got off work, missed Raw, but I don't care. 14-hour shift today. Damn. Started work when it was dark and got off when it was dark. I remember those days, man. All my dues paying days in my younger days when I just had to work my balls off to kind of advance and do all that. It's rough work, especially this time of year when it's light for so short amount of time, and going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark, that can get depressing. But lucky for you, you are not in Kansas, you are in Hawaii, so there is worse places to do it. But man, I feel for you, man, and I've been there, so keep plugging away. You're awesome. DM23, welcome back, man. Appreciate the $10. This will probably most random and non-wrestling question you will ever get, but when did you realize you were losing your hair? And when did you begin to accept it? I'm 30 with long hair and it's thinning. Mine was, I didn't notice it hard until like 30s, but I cut it off prior to then. But I had always had thin hair because I had it really long. And then I cut it short. And that's when I started realizing that it was thinning out anyway. And I originally accepted it just fine because I remember I buzzed it real short one summer just for fun, and people were complimenting it. And I remember saying, okay, if I have to do this, I'm fine with it or whatever. So one day it was a progressive thing. First went with like the Owen Hart cut, and then I buzzed it. And then eventually I went full Stone Cold Steve Austin and straight razored it. It was like a process that took about a year. and then as my skin tone kind of meshed in with the rest, because when you first do that for the first time, your scalp is all white and stuff. So once it all kind of becomes the same color and it falls in, it works. So I accepted it right away. It's nature. What can you do? It's nobody's fault. And I certainly am not going to be taking any hair growing pills or get hair plugs or anything like that. So it was either this or look like Ernie McCracken from Kingpin. So I went with this. But I would say officially, I'd probably go with somewhere around like 32 or something, maybe even 30. Yeah, something like that. But that's not the most random non-wrestling question I've ever gotten. I've gotten more non-random before. Up next, we had the Hurt Business coming out. This was interesting because they have made it known, because they have volunteered themselves to take out the worthless faction of Retribution, that they want to be paid and compensated by WWE for doing so, and they want to be paid in gold. So they got a promo out now. There was an advertised match earlier this week between Hurt Business and New Day. It is going to be a non-title match, but that is scheduled for Raw here, so they come out first to cut their promo. Lashley talks a little bit about Sami Zayn briefly, and I think Sami on Friday night talked about why the Intercontinental title is more important than the U.S. title and all that stuff. So it's just a sleeper match to me. It could turn out to be nothing and boring, and WWE gives it 6 minutes and it sucks, or it can just randomly steal the show. I just got this weird feeling about this match. I don't know. So Lashley says a few words, then MVP starts talking about the New Day and talks about that they want title shots and they want tag team gold and they want to get a shot at the titles. So, of course, they're going to do the deal here. You saw it coming a mile away. It's a non-title match. Hurt Business is probably going to beat the champs here and then, go on to get that title match, which is essentially what happened. New Day then comes out. Kofi and Xavier trade some insults back and forth. I really liked that Kofi and Xavier, because we talked about this during the draft, and then they did the stupid thing where they swapped the belts. And I think Xavier's like, we are the 10-time champions. And then Kofi's like, wait, are you sure they were the 10-time champions? Are you sure it's not 9? It's a little bit confusing there. And Xavier's like, yeah, we're 10. So the fact that they even know the tag team switch was stupid, and they at least made that known that they fucked up their own record keeping in their books with that stupid crap from a few weeks back. I got a chuckle out of that. Kofi talked about how he's made it to where Lashley has never made it. Not even Lashley's made it to the world title, but Kofi did. And then Hurt Business make fun of him for losing in 8 seconds to Brock. And then we go to commercial, we come back, and we have a pretty long match. But it was a good one. It was Cedric and Shelton against Kofi and Xavier. And it was good. These 4 guys worked marvelously together. You had Lashley on the outside. You had MVP doing commentary during this thing. And in the end, I was not surprised at all to see the Hurt Business get the win here. They beat the New Day. That will set them up now for a tag team title match. I don't know if that's going to happen at Survivor Series. I don't know if it's brand versus brand exclusive. Oh, wait, it can't be, because then the champions are facing each other. Never mind. Don't know if this match is going to happen before Survivor Series is what I should say. Right now, you've got New Day slotted to take on Street Profits. I kind of want to see that because I think we've already seen a lot of Street Profits and Hurt Business. So if the Hurt Business is going to take the tag team titles, and I think they will, I'd rather it happen after Survivor Series because, I don't know, I think New Day and Street Profits will be fun to watch. There'll be some fun stuff in that match. They'll do entertaining stuff. I bet you it's going to be a deal where they both do entertaining shit as entrances. They both have a great match. I'm hoping New Day wins, and then they do something fun after the match to celebrate together or something. Something like that is what I think we'll see there. After that, we cut backstage. Alexa Bliss is standing there with her back turned. Nikki Cross approaches her. Alexa, I've been trying to call you, and what's going on? And I know, that the Fiend is getting to you, and I know it's about him, and that's why you're ignoring me and all of this. And, Alexa will not move. Alexa will not look at her. And Nikki is like, come on, look at me. And she kind of turns her around, and that's when Alexa looks at her with the goofy or the creepy eyes, excuse me. And then Nikki gets scared, I think, and runs away or whatever. And then you get another very big close up of Alexa Bliss's face there with the eyes and everything. So fun stuff. Nothing bad at all to say about the Alexa and Fiend alliance. It's pretty good. After that, my God, did you guys see what the hell is going on with Tucker? Not the best look on him I've ever seen. He went like he went from somebody that almost like had a gimmick and had like a custom outfit to somebody that looks like he's like jobber number 335 on a WWE video game or something. He almost looked like a combination of Bradshaw from the APA and like Colin Delaney, the most basic wrestling tights that you would wear when you join wrestling school for the first day, with one stripe down the side. Very bland looking look. He doesn't have much of a body or a physique going on. I think he looked much better than what he had going on before as part of Heavy Machinery. They probably shouldn't have even broken that tag team up. I don't know what they're expecting to get out of Tucker in a singles role. I feel like he's going to be branded as jobber right off the bat, and he's not going to go anywhere from that. I see no advancement for Tucker just with this current new look in week 1. I know that's being real hard on him. It's just, I don't see it for him. He just doesn't, I don't know. He faces Ricochet, by the way, who they didn't even consider this good enough to put on TV. Ricochet did a backstage promo where he challenged, I think, Tucker to a match backstage, but it aired, or they put it on Twitter instead of the actual show, because I don't think that aired on Raw. So then they come out to the ring, they have their match, Ricochet beats him, and immediately after the match, Ali shows up, or he watches the whole time during the match. Immediately after the match, the rest of Retribution, Reckoning, and Bisquick, and all those fuckers, they all jump the railing, they get in the ring, they beat the hell out of both guys, and Ali cuts a little bit of a promo, but it's Retribution. It's silly. It's a dumb faction, those shaky ass cameras. Remember the hashtag give divas a chance? Hashtag give steady cameras a chance. My God. The fact that they have to do this shit, not only during all the action in the ring, but they have to do it during the entrances too. Oh my God. So, not scared of them. They do nothing for me. They've been made to look like fools and buffoons by the Hurt Business every week. Here they come in and take advantage of a 5-on-2 scenario and beat up 2 guys. Ooh, let's do the Scott Hall. Ooh, scary stuff from the Retribution. I think I could beat all 5 of those guys. Me and 4 of you, we could take them. Anybody want to volunteer? Zane, Nanny, Trey, Diet Water, will y'all be on my team? We will whoop their asses. Zane, do I see Paige in AEW? I don't know. Let me check the website and see if she's there. No, don't see her. No, I'm kidding. I would love to see Paige in AEW. I think she wants probably out of that contract, but I think she's probably locked into WWE for a while. The funny thing, well, I guess I don't know what happens if you get let go for wellness policy violations or whatever. If you have, if you can't work for anybody else until the duration of your contract, or if it's just a 90-day or something, she should try to get herself. She's already got like 2 strikes. She should just get that 3rd strike. That's a bad idea. Maybe she should do something wrong. Maybe not take any drugs. That's a bad idea. Don't do drugs, kids. But it seems like, someone like her, it wouldn't take much to get herself fired. She should just go on a Twitch stream and just rip the WWE to shreds, and then they fire her, and then she can do whatever she wants. I don't know. I feel bad for her, though. I feel really bad for her. She seemed legitimately devastated about the effect that WWE's new policies are going to have on her Twitch and her streaming, and this little corner of her life that she has found that gives her peace and gives her structure and gives her an outlet. And for WWE to take that away, I think they are monsters, and they're just horrible people. Best of luck, Paige. I would love for her to get out of there and go to AEW. Would absolutely love it. We got good. I'm glad we got my monkey wrenches on the case. Appreciate it, guys. Always keeping up with the morons. All right, we have a not so horrible audience in here this week for the Raw review, which is good. Can you do me a favor and smash the thumbs up button for me and get those likes up? And before we get into the final little bit on the show here, what do I have on the tap for you? I'm recording my Beyond the Mat review this week. I could maybe shoot for a Sunday upload there, but probably not. It'll probably be like a week, and that'll be up. But it's going to be up very soon. So that's coming. And then this Saturday, I'll be up here for Full Gear review right after the show. And I just got to figure out what to do about the Winged Eagle. I think that will be the Winged Eagle podcast. If I can get up here and do a short video on predictions, I will. That's probably what I'll shoot to do. I think like Friday afternoon or something, I'm just going to post a short little live stream. We'll predict Full Gear. Saturday night, I will watch Full Gear, live tweet during the whole thing, and then after the show, we'll do a post Full Gear Winged Eagle where we will talk about Full Gear. We'll talk about the rest of the wrestling results, sparingly, here and there. We won't talk about all of it, but we'll talk about Wednesday night. We'll talk about Friday night, and we'll do more previewing for Survivor Series and all that stuff, and we'll have a good time on Saturday night. So mark your calendars. Click the noti bell. all that stuff. Where we leave off on Raw, we left off with Ricochet beating the delicious New Look Tucker. After that, we got the main event. Prior to that is when Sheamus confronted Drew backstage, offered him a spot on the Raw team, and he's like, nah, I'm good. I still think he could get into the team. This is what they'll probably do there. Otherwise, he's not going to be booked for Survivor Series. So I think Drew is still likely to be the fifth guy there, but we'll see what they do next week. They still got plenty of time to figure it out. Main event was a handicap match. Drew McIntyre taking on The Miz and Morrison. This was set up way back in the opening segment when Miz tried to cash in and Drew stopped him. Now he wants to kick the shit out of both of these guys for getting in his way. And, of course, you know, it's a match. It goes exactly the way you think. Drew looks like $1 million, beats them both, and in the end, Orton comes out and RKO's Drew McIntyre, so he got a little bit of revenge on McIntyre's Claymore from the earlier segment. And then as soon as he hit him with the RKO, the lights go off, they turn red, you hear the Fiend music, and you hear him laugh. Or you hear the Fiend screeching, whatever it is. And you can hear him laughing over the loudspeakers, and Orton's kind of looking around, and, you know, he's watching his back, and that's the whole point of the title situation on Raw right now, is to have Randy Orton really being chased from all different directions from all different kinds of people. He's got an absolute madman who wants to kill him and Drew McIntyre. He's got a crazy lunatic with Alexa Bliss trying to play mind games with him, and he's got a chicken shit little pussy with a briefcase coming after him as well. He is up poo-poo river without an oar. Isn't that the phrase? It's Schitt's Creek without a paddle. You know what I mean. So he's screwed. So I like that. That's fun. That gives us something that keeps us, the fans, on our toes to a certain degree as well. And even though WWE does fly by the seat of their pants, sometimes that can translate into a good thing here, you know, with what they're doing now, because they have some time to kill between Survivor Series and they can just have fun with this shit. So we'll see when we start getting some, you know, rematches, title matches, you know, announced. But for right now, we're heading into Survivor Series, and it's it's Randy and Roman. So I asked you guys earlier on, pick me scenarios for that match, pick me a winner. How would you book it? It's going to have to be interference. I can't see Roman getting RKO'd and pinned clean. There is no way that's happening. Not even completely sure if a spear to Randy Orton and a clean pin there is happening either. So I think what you got to do is you have to add all of these other elements, which there are a plethora of right now, regarding Randy Orton, and even Roman Reigns has got a couple as well, with Jey Uso now falling in line and all of that. So between Uso and possibly Daniel Bryan, maybe even Jimmy Uso, and The Fiend, and The Miz, and Drew McIntyre, all of those elements coming together here could play a role in the title or in the champion versus champion match to allow them to get out of it and book themselves out of it without harming either guy, you know, suffering a loss or a pinfall or anything like that. And both guys come out of that match strong because they're your two champions. That's what you got to do. So there's got to be a way to do it to where you book it to where they're both coming out of it strong, and you also don't disappoint the fans. That isn't easy, especially for a company that already, you know, has its noggins directly up its annals, as Borat would say. I watched the Borat movie last night. I loved it. I took a picture of it. I laughed my ass off. So before we watched it, the warning that comes on the screen, it says, can you read it? It says sexuality, drug use, foul language, nudity, and blackface. So you knew what you were in for with the Borat movie, and it was 2 hours of just wonderful, uncomfortable pleasure, hilarious shit. I don't know what the fuck my point was. Oh yeah, the annals. Right up your annals. So anyway, that is it for the Raw results. Let me cruise up here and make sure I didn't miss anything and answer some questions here. Yeah, Zane, Undertaker video is coming. I still have to put exactly together the date and what that's going to be. Give me till this weekend to make an announcement on that. And I'm doing Beyond the Mat soon. Actually, you can see it right behind my ear here. Wait, I'm going to turn this way. Right there. I actually set those up so I could take a picture of it to use for the thumbnail in the video. So I'm basically ready to go. I just need to lay down some notes. And I watched it the other night for the first time in probably a couple of years, but I have seen the movie a lot of times. And I remember when it came out, it was such a big deal because it came out just a couple of years after Wrestling with Shadows. Maybe just a year. It was a year after Wrestling with Shadows came out. because that came out in like late 98, I think, and Beyond the Mat came out in late 99. But it's gnarly, man. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it this week. Yeah, Paige's injury, she came back from the neck surgery, and then she had that match. That was a live event, and there was video of it. And she got kicked in the back by Sasha Banks, and kicked rather hard, and it kind of jolted her, and it did something, and they told her she hadn't wrestled since. And they're like, you're kind of done. Sasha got a lot of flack for that, but, when you watch the spot, it's no different than any spot you do in any match. It's just, just a freak thing. Sucks, and wasn't Sasha's fault. Just happened. Oh yeah, Devlin, I will. I don't know when I'm going to be back in Maui. I was at Maui last time, but I'm going to be in Kauai this April over Easter and WrestleMania weekend. I'll be in Kauai. But yeah, I don't know. We tried Maui last time, but I think the family prefers Kauai, and I think that's probably where we're going to always be unless we do a double thing. We'll see. But I will let you know. Bo show. Oh, wow. That's an elaborate idea. If McIntyre is on the Raw team, Orton will do something to eliminate him, then have Miz cash in the middle of the Survivor Series match. Maybe. I don't think Miz is cashing in. I feel like he's got a good opportunity to take advantage, and they could definitely tease that. I don't know if I would do it there, but he could. I mean, I guess he could. He could cash in on Randy Orton or something. But you have to think about Randy Orton. If the 5-on-5 matches before Orton and Roman, it would almost be like ill-advised of Orton to come out and interfere when he's got a big match later, that he should be, worrying about. So I don't know if if those things could all work individually, but I don't know if like the order you have them in is what I would do. I feel like Orton is going to come out. He would come out after his match or something, because if McIntyre shows up and cost Orton the victory in the Roman match, Roman beats him. Now Orton is pissed, and he comes back in the 5-on-5 and eliminates Drew. That could happen. But the Miz cashing in, I think, is going to be a stretch. It would have to be a severe beatdown for Randy Orton, like Roman and Uso would have to get to him. The Fiend would have to put the claw on him. Drew would have to show up and hit him with a Claymore. And then the Miz would show up with the briefcase and win. If you have all those things happen, maybe. Can't rule something like that out. That's for sure. Yeah, for sure. I've got my dates, Devlin. I just don't have them directly in front of me, but I already have my tickets purchased and everything. It's just a matter of getting out there and keeping the fingers crossed that COVID allows us to travel and nobody gets sick prior to it and all of that. But we'll totally meet up, man. Maybe Barry can join us. He lives on Kauai. Real American. Yeah. I know. I like to pretend that didn't happen. In my mind, I am just going to pretend that The Undertaker's real debut was November 22nd. And I know he did appear in a taping that was taped prior to his debut at Survivor Series. Technically, that's his debut, but I'm still counting Survivor Series because it's more fun to count Survivor Series. I remember the announcement of him being Kane the Undertaker. I thought that was very cool when they did debut the Kane character and they called him that. Diet Water, no, I've only listened partially to Bustin' Open here or there, a couple of clips. I like them, but I just, there's a lot of podcasts that I would like to listen to. I just don't have time. I got my own stuff to do, and I listened to Something to Wrestle for a long time, but I've even kind of dropped off on them. I need to get back into podcasts. I go on kicks to where like I'm just into podcasts for like 3 straight months. And then I'm like, you know what? I want to listen to music again when I'm driving to work and stuff. And then I switch. So as soon as I get bit by the podcast bug again, I'll start listening to it. But, for the most part, I don't have a whole lot of time. Oh yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to be paying attention, Devlin, to that information as we get closer to that in terms of how I go about handling that and the testing and the quarantining and all that. Because there's a lot of us, man. My family of 5, and then we got significant others, and we got kids, and there's a lot of people going, so it's going to be a miracle if we can all get there safely and have a good time. Back to Cornette versus Russo. Hell in the Cell. No holds barred. No DQ. But you have to batter your opponent. No Dairy Queen? And what's batter? Like the shit you use to make pancakes? Oh, and an ambulance match. I'm into that. That would be interesting. So you want to do a Hell in the Cell Dairy Queen batter match in an ambulance. Doesn't get much crazier sounding than that. Yeah, Ryan, I need to look more into that. I don't know. So poor Kylie Ray, I saw the news of her retiring. I know she had the issue. Who did she no-show for? Was it Impact, right? And she did this once before where she kind of like went AWOL. Sounds like it's a situation kind of similar to Lars Sullivan, sort of, the way he kind of disappeared. And I guess she just dealt with some personal issues and some mental anxiety, things like that, which is not good. I know she's done some interviews, none of which I've listened to yet. I think she did one with Sean Ross Sapp a couple weeks ago or whatever. So I got to look at these. I don't know her situation. All I know is we just wish her well because you never like hearing stuff like that. And somebody's mental health comes before anything else. So for her stepping away from the ring is probably the best thing for her. And if that's the decision she's made, we back her here on the channel. So she's young, world ahead of her. She can get over this hump, maybe come back one day. Otherwise, maybe this business just isn't for her. But whatever she does, we wish her well. It's sad. But I hope she's good. Hey, Gabriel, how are you, man? Welcome back. AJ Daniels, thank you for the $5. Did you see the picture of a fan who got AJ Styles' tattoo? Even put AJ's kids' birth dates on him. Yeah, I saw that today. Somewhere. I was looking at my phone. Where the hell was I? I was in my car doing something, and I saw it there. And I was like, that is so... Did he know that the dates are AJ's kids' birthdays? That seems so weird. Like, at least if you're going to do that, maybe do something significant to you. Nobody's going to know the difference. It's still an AJ tribute, but maybe you can have your own twist on it by having your own birthday on there. Like the fact that he tattooed another man's kids' birthdays on the side of his body is hysterical. That you saw the guy that got the Cody tattoo on his neck. I'm like, man, isn't one person making this bad decision enough? Somebody else has to do it. The wrestling fans are crazy. You get some cool people. I saw a guy with there's a guy with like a Winged Eagle tattoo, a Winged Eagle belt, like faceplate tattoo, either on his leg or either on his stomach. I don't think his stomach. That would be hilarious. But some people take it a little bit too far. I think that's a little bit silly to do the exact same tattoo, because when you show that to somebody, what are they going to say? What do those numbers mean? What is the significance? Oh, that's his kid's birthday or whatever. I think it would have been cooler if he just did his own. Nobody would have noticed. Oh, I don't know, Devlin, how many of my viewers I've actually met in person. I met a bunch when I was in LA at Survivor Series a couple of years ago. In a meet and greet, and then just ran into a few in general in the arena. I don't know, 20 maybe, but only like 5 or 6 that I like really, actually had long conversations with and stuff. Went and saw a fella in Michigan, yeah, Jacob, and yeah, we've done a lot, yeah, so maybe like 20. You? Couple of when we were waiting in line on the cruise for either an autograph or a meet and greet. I think it was a meet and greet. Met a couple of people in line who recognize me and say they've listened to me, but it's not a terrible amount. Based on that Survivor Series takeover trip from a couple years ago and the Jericho cruise, that's been the bulk of it, and Hawaii and shit like that. Oh my gosh, DM, that's elaborate. Undertaker returns to squash The Miz, and he takes the briefcase and cashes in on Orton to become champion on his 30th anniversary. That's a stretch. I don't know. You'd have to challenge The Miz for the briefcase. Then you'd have to have Law and Taker, and JBL would have to give Taker a match to have against The Miz, and then he would beat The Miz. Then he would take control. Then he would cash in on Orton. A lot would have to happen, and Undertaker does not move fast. So I don't know. Fast isn't his thing. Oh, good, Gabriel. If you're old enough to drink, bring it, man. Once everything goes back to normal, if it ever goes back to normal, San Diego's got some fun places to go. I've never heard. I know I've never heard of you either. Devlin, I have seen you so wasted. It's all good. So maybe you don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the likely way to get out of the Orton and Drew match is do something like that. You guys pretty much agree with that sentiment there. Keep smashing that thumbs up button for me if you would. We'll see what else is going on news-wise. Because we'll have a lot to talk about this weekend, man, with Full Gear and all that. So, oh yeah, how about that? The Barack and Sock connection. So I guess Mick Foley's kid. Mick Foley's pretty vocal, but Dewey, who works backstage in WWE, I think is a creative writer, right? He posted today just on Twitter or social media that it was like a first election. I voted in my first election or whatever, and he just randomly got retweeted by Obama. I don't think Obama knew that he was somebody or knew that he was Mick Foley. I think he just thought he was just a random person. He just happened to retweet him. It happened to be Dewey Foley, and Mick Foley got a big kick out of that. And that was kind of heartwarming to see. I probably marked out Dewey, which is interesting because we're going to talk about Dewey when I do the Beyond the Mat review, because Dewey was just a little toddler when he was sitting in the front row with Noelle, watching her dad get bludgeoned to death in the head by The Rock. Poor kid went through a traumatic experience there. Rewatching that again was almost like more like comical, just watching them have to just freaking out. You can't, they weren't acting, they were legitimately scared that, Rock was caving old daddy's head in. Pretty messed up. Wouldn't see that now, Beyond the Mat's going to be interesting when we talk about that. I got some things to say about it. Ooh, plot twist. Sting returns to be the leader of Retribution. There's a good topic to talk about. Sting. So, is Sting gone? I think Sting's gone. They pulled all of his merch from WWE shop, unless it's back now. It was a couple days ago they pulled it. And it might fuel the rumors based on, the deal that he probably had in COVID times. What's the incentive for WWE to really keep him around other than keeping him away from AEW? And I would like to think, even in, the times of that we're in competition, that WWE would have enough respect for Sting, and who he was as a performer and his legacy in wrestling, to where if he wanted to go do something for them, they would give him their blessing, you know what I mean? So, maybe he's just done with his contract and he's going to turn up over there. I hope that he does. I would love to see Sting appear in AEW because he doesn't have to wrestle, and he would be a presence there, a good one to have, with some of those other guys. He could form a stable over there. He could be the leader of the Dark Order. I don't know. Maybe Brody Lee starts alluding to somebody that he answers to, and it could be Sting. I'm not sure, but I would love Sting to go over there. I would not want Sting to show up and be the leader of Retribution. I think that would suck. Again, you have to look at the motives there. Why would he do it? What is Sting's motivation with WWE? I'm sure he can find a couple of things that he maybe didn't like about his time there, but not enough to form a whole faction and try to tear down the company. So WWE's either throwing us a curveball here, making us think Sting's gone from the company, and then he turns up at Survivor Series to have like a face-to-face confrontation with The Undertaker. No match, just a face-to-face thing, and then have two jabronis show up, talk smack to him. Undertaker and Sting beat the hell out of them. Both, they don't even take their trench coats off. They just beat the hell out of two schmucks, throw them over the top rope, have a show of respect there, and then Sting leaves the ring and allows Undertaker to have, his moment by himself with everybody, 30th anniversary type of thing. That would be fun because we wouldn't see it coming based on some of the evidence that points to Sting not being around anymore. But I don't think WWE cares to go through the trouble of doing all that. So I think Sting might be leaving. And I would love to see him turn up. Sting on TNT. Man. First time in 20 years? Nuts. And plus, Sting's the type of guy and legend, he's appeared everywhere. He didn't appear, in ECW. But, Japan, WCW, ECW, and all of his years that he put in TNA, for him to show up and just make an appearance and, be a part of AEW would be cool. You know who else never got a run in or any sort of a feud of any kind? Unless I'm forgetting. No, definitely not. Is Jericho and Sting. Those are two guys that never really. Is there any Jericho and Sting matches out there from WCW? I bet there's not. There might be. And then in terms of post WCW, they wouldn't have interacted until the late 2000s, or when 2010s, when he came in like 14, had a match in 15, and that was it. I don't even think they've had an in-ring segment together unless Sting was a guest on what's it called, the Jeritron 5000 show. Talk is Jericho, not Talk is Jericho. What the fuck is this talk show called? That or the Kevin Owens show, somewhere around the Friends angle with Jericho and KO. If they've ever done anything together, it feels like it would either be there or way back in the day on Nitro. So that might be fun, to see a Jericho Sting, not a match, just a Jericho Sting segment promo in the ring would be fun. Two legends that have really never crossed paths, doing it for the first time. Sure. They did. I mean, I think they could have done Sting better than that, but, he did get hurt too, and that match with Seth. Maybe they could have done more with him had he not gotten hurt, possibly. But the match with Triple H, I thought was stupidly set up the way he came back at the Survivor Series that year. It was just kind of random, out of nowhere, targeting Triple H for whatever reason, then having the match, and then having NWO guys and DX guys face off in the ring, even though they're all friends anyway, and then fighting. Why is NWO siding with Sting when the NWO was the reason that Crow Sting became Crow Sting? It was just dumb. It was trying to be a WWF versus WCW thing, but it just didn't look right. And then on top of that, Sting lost in the daylight. I hated that daylight show. It just didn't look good. That match should have gone on so much later in the dark, where you do a really cool entrance, because they both had pretty cool entrances that year. Triple H had the Terminator thing, and Sting had his deal. Just didn't come off well. Just didn't like the way it looked at all. Could have been better. Highlight reel. Thank you. What's wrong with me? What's up, Francisca? How are you? Mia is... Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So what is Mia's name in Retribution? Reckoning, right? Jesus. And they didn't follow up at all this week with whatever the hell was going on with her last week, becoming possessed or overtaken with demons or shit like that. I don't know. But she seemed fine tonight, but she could be the one targeting Asuka. I don't know. I don't want that faction to get any titles. I just want them to go away. I'm just so not into them at all. But I could see that. I think Asuka needs a credible opponent, and if it's not going to be Shayna or Nia Jax right now, there's not a whole lot left on that Raw roster that you could do, unless you just give Naomi a random shot or Dana Brooke or somebody like random. Mia Yim, however, could be an interesting choice. And at some point near the end of the year here, we have to start talking Charlotte. We know that not only will she be back, but she'll have a big match at WrestleMania. So you can start thinking now about who you'd put her in the ring with. She worked with Rhea Ripley last year. Do you do a Rhea Ripley rematch if you move her up by this point? Because who knows, by the time we get to WrestleMania again, Rhea Ripley could be NXT champion. You could do it again. Who knows? Yeah, even bigger point there by AJ Daniels. It was the black and white NWO, not even the Wolfpack NWO, which Sting was a part of. But the black and white NWO is what caused Sting to go silent for 18 months when WCW didn't believe him, when he said he didn't join, and they had the fake Sting, and then he just went up in the rafters for a year and a half and didn't come down. Had the crow paint on and all of that. I told you guys I used to live in Wilmington, where the crow was shot, where Brandon Lee was killed. I used to live across the street from the hospital that Brandon Lee was brought to when he died on that movie. It was a freak accident as well, man. But it was a good look for Sting. I liked it. Even though it was a blatant ripoff, it looked good. Fit him. He did well. He did a good... He's another example of a guy who, he had that like surfer Sting persona. Very flamboyant, very charismatic, very loud, very energetic. He went to the strong, silent type. He completely did a 180 and literally was like, what's the opposite of what I could do now? And he did it, and he did it well. So, props to Sting. Oh, Charlotte returning and replacing Lana in the tag match. Yeah, she could be back sooner rather than later. I thought it was going to be a 2021 thing for her, but showing up there feels like they definitely want to get Lana out of the match. They don't want her there and don't want her a part of it. So we'll see how they deal with that. Rewatch the New Jack one. What are you talking about? The Beyond the Mat part? The New Jack part was weird. He got an acting tryout. He sucked. Oh, I do remember that SummerSlam where the fan had the Hogan drawing, but that probably wasn't a tattoo. That was probably like an airbrush deal or something. Some sort of artwork there that's probably washable, but not a tattoo. Wrestling fans will do some crazy stuff, man. And there's like lots of examples of that. Like I've seen over the years lots of tweets about people getting like ridiculous tattoos, wrestling related. It's like, wow, you actually did that? I don't even think a wrestling tattoo is that bad. Yeah, we're all nerds. We're going to get a wrestling tattoo. So what? Just make it to where it doesn't take over your whole damn body or whatever. So that's one of the weirder ones that we've seen, is doing the birthdays the exact same way. If anything, if it was me, I would replicate it, make it look the same, but also give it my own similar touch because, you know, it should be important to you. Have some respect for yourself. Have some respect for what's important to you and incorporate that into your body art. That's the way I would look at it. I don't have any tattoos, but if I, did, I'm not against them, but if I got one, I would want it something personal to me, not personal to somebody else. The fuck? What the F, man? I don't know when Flair got injured. I don't know if she was necessarily injured. I think it was nagging injuries and her just taking time off in general, I thought, but I can't remember. Y'all fill us in. What's the deal with Charlotte? What are you referring to with WCW getting sued? Oh, probably the Crow stuff. Yeah, I get maybe they didn't care enough to do it. Maybe that didn't fall under their intellectual property trademark. I don't know. But it was clearly not only, it wasn't even like subtly taking from the Crow. It was like taking 100% of the Crow. It's not like WCW could make a case to where, yeah, they're similar, but as you can clearly see, Sting is different because of this. It was the same thing. So yeah, that is interesting. Shit was different in the 90s, man. Back in ECW, wrestlers were coming out to like Alice in Chains and shit like that, so maybe even back then, in like 97 and 96 and stuff, that their things were a little bit easier to get away with, I suppose. But WWE wouldn't be having any of that. They didn't even let, they sued WCW just for Kevin Nash and Scott Hall acting like Razor and Diesel. They didn't have the outfits. They didn't have the names. They didn't have the look, nothing. Scott had the toothpick. That was it. But here you got a complete direct ripoff of a movie character, and they got away with it scot-free. I don't know. I don't know the details on that. It's something I've never really thought about, actually, and should have. How were they able to pull that off? I don't know. Yeah, Real American. I'm probably the same way. Maybe something for my dad or something like that. So I'm not sure. I think that's always been my biggest problem. I mean, all my friends have tattoos. All my guy and girlfriends, all of them do. So I'm definitely not against them. I think it's hard for me to make decisions like that. And if I have it in my head that it's something that permanent, I will overthink it, and I'll never be able to make a decision, because I'll be like, oh no, what if I change my mind in a year? What I just can't, I can't decide type of thing, because it is permanent and it's there and it should mean something to you. And I'm just bad at that stuff. That's why I don't have any. Sting said the Crow was Scott Hall's idea, which makes sense given Razor is based off of Scarface. Yeah, it is. That Razor. That was good, though. I remember that. Even at the time, I didn't like Nitro. I was firmly on the side of the WWE and the Monday Night Wars, but I watched a lot of those Nitros, and I saw the one where it was outside in a parking lot. It was the Nitro where Sting joined the NWO. And I think it was Luger outside of the limo, and then the fake Sting got out and attacked him, and that was when the show went off the air, showing fake Sting, fighting with the NWO. And I remember that was back in the hotline days, and I called a few that night, and one of them was whatever the hell Bill Apter was on. I don't remember or whatever. I just remember it was his voice. So I called Bill's line, and I think it was the only time I had ever called that hotline because he treated it as a kayfabe line. So here I am thinking I'm going to be getting some random wrestling news, and he's like, wrestling fans, ladies and gentlemen. He was so overdramatic about it. As somebody who's covered wrestling for 40 years, I cannot tell you how disappointed and appalled and disgusted I am that Sting, yes, Sting, has joined the NWO, and just went on this long-winded, dramatic reveal of, oh my God, we just saw the biggest travesty in the history of wrestling just played out before our very eyes on Nitro. Can you believe this? And I was like, what the fuck, or whatever. I hung up. And I like Bill. It was just like, oh my God, this is not what I thought I was going to hear. But having him getting all like uppity about it or whatever. And then it was just revealed like the next week that it was a fake Sting or whatever, after the real Sting professes his innocence, and he tells the fans that they never believed in him. The locker room didn't believe in him, so they can stick it. I specifically remember the stick it line, and that was it. Next thing you know, he was up, and you could see over time how his hair grew, because he was still short-haired Sting when this all started. And as he was up in the rafters, it got longer and longer and longer. And it was real long by the time he joined the Wolfpack. So those were good times, man. Apparently it's all Scott Hall's idea. Sorry, reading text messages. I don't know what I signed up for, but I can't. Hopefully this will be the end of it tonight, but I get about like 20 political texts per day. My number must be somewhere to where they get me. But anyway, I got also a tag here from somebody on Coda Knox on Twitter. This is a quote from Kylie Ray in July via Sean Ross Sapp. Currently, I'm signed to a long-term contract, but yeah, after that, we'll see where that goes. But I've been saying since the day I started training, I've got about 2 years left in me. So now it's 7 years later. So apparently she's been thinking about this for a while. James Harris, are you by any chance in the chat? You're my buddy up in LA. Says earthquake or no? I did not feel it. I didn't feel an earthquake here. Hopefully there's no earthquakes. There's already going to be one tomorrow. Oh yeah, for sure. Immortal is a rehash of NWO. It was. We just talked about that a little bit. Kind of the genesis of that, I think, sort of, is Bound for Glory 2010. I did a review on that, Wesley. It's on my channel if you want to check that out. Just did that a week or two ago. And it was fun to watch that angle happen for the first time. Because even though I remember it, and I remember reading about it and seeing clips of it and stuff, never really watched it straight through. So a lot of TNA and Impact fans have fond memories of that pay-per-view from back in 2010. And even at that point, I felt like the wheels were off. I felt after the January failure of going head-to-head with Raw, and the six-sided ring is now 4, which honestly I do like better, but the six-sided ring gave them that identity. Their identity drastically changed, but they still had their fan base, and they still were loaded with talent. Kurt was still there. Joe was still there. Daniels was still there. AJ, there was a lot of guys that they had there. It was just kind of the way they were presenting the product, kind of turning it into a smaller version of WWE with WWE stars and Hulk Hogan and all that, that fucked them all up. But a lot of people looked back fondly on that angle and said that it was good when Hardy turned. Don't think I was a fan of the belt that Hardy carried, but overall it was very good. I do too, James. Early 2000s was fun, and so was the 90s. Imagine that, fans. There's probably a lot of young fans in the chat right now. Imagine going to a wrestling show and not having a phone in your pocket. Not even thinking about looking down and being distracted by anything else other than what's going on and what's going on around you. And that was the fun of going to a lot of the shows back then, is just to be, that engaged with it. And I really think too that that contributes to, the lack of audience enthusiasm we hear. you know, in modern times, the dead silence that we hear when certain people come out to the ring. Even champions come out now to like no crowd reaction half the time and shit. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fans just tweeting and Instagramming and shit and just not fucking paying attention or taking a video or whatever the fuck. And I'm guilty of that too. I've only been to a few shows in the modern era, but even when I went to SmackDown's first show in a year ago when they moved to Fox, and that was where Brock beat Kofi, I remember taking a shit ton of pictures and videos for that thing to the point where it was, you know, distracting me a bit from the actual show. Just the way it's the life we live now. That's right. So the Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Angle MMA shit. I don't remember much of that aside from a couple of clips I've seen. You know, but if those guys actually got in a real fight, bye Double J. What did they do with Kurt Angle? Why did I just think of him? I thought of him recently about him and Daniel Puder for some reason, and I forgot why. Oh, it was the Thatch Can segments from NXT. He kind of recreated the Puder Kurt Angle spot with that jobber he was working with. That's right. I was just thinking about that not long ago. But between Angle and Jarrett, going Angle on that one. Yeah, Jeff Hardy's heel turn was great, but Victory Road ruined a lot. He was already not champion by then, I believe, right? He wasn't champion going into that match, but, you know, that's where he had his episode. You know, and in hindsight, even though it's look at Jeff. You know, look at where he is. That is something that should kill anybody else, like kill their career. You know, and it didn't. Not only did he come back from that in TNA, he came back from it in WWE. Even TNA let him back. You know, and he had the promo where he apologized and, you know, owned up to it and tried to make right. You know, and then years later he comes back to WWE and he's had quite the run there. So had that episode not happened, yes, it ruined a pay-per-view main event. It's probably one of the few things I think TNA did right. They made a huge misstep by letting him go out there to the ring. That's fucked up. But how they handled it, ad-libbed, you know, in hindsight, maybe you should have done it better. But they got Jeff out of there and they got the match done and they did what they had to do there. And they dealt with Jeff after the fact. So the fact that Bischoff was able to come out there and kind of think on their feet like that and just tell Sting, hey, pin him, nothing else you can do. They should have grabbed him before he went through the curtain, sent somebody else out there to replace him is what you should have done. But once Jeff is in the ring, you know, it's kind of hard to, you know, there's no turning back now, and they did what they did. So when you look at Jeff's life and what happened to him and what he became without that situation, that embarrassing situation happening to him, it might have gotten worse, and he might not have come out the other side alive. So even though it's hard to look back on, and you almost can't believe it happened, it's like a good thing that it did, you know? Oh, James, you work at Sprouts in Allen, Texas. We've lost so many employees in the last year. Why? I love Sprouts. It's one of my favorite places. I go in there all the time. I love their wings. I always buy their wings. They got this chimichurri steak in there at the counter that I love. I like buying regular steaks and meats from there. Sprouts is awesome, and really good seafood, too. If you have a Sprouts near you, go shop there. All right, cinnamon roll. See you later. Get good sleep. The highlight of my day was the Firehouse sub I ate at work. I've never had a Firehouse sub. Hey, I've talked about that a lot. I said, Zane asks, what if Dynamite went up against Raw? I'm the one that says that, and everybody's like, oh, good mic work, you're crazy. You know, they'll never win. I don't even know if it's about winning. I think they will put a huge dent in their rating. Like, they are in such a much better position than TNA was 10 years ago. You know, now Raw is on the ropes. What's Raw doing? 1.6s? AEW is doing half of that, sometimes more than half of that. You don't think if they move over to Monday night that it's going to take 500,000 people away from Raw? I don't think AEW is beating them. I think Raw, well, actually maybe not that many. I think if they move to Monday nights, it would be like Raw 1.1, 1.2, AEW the same numbers they're getting. Maybe just like 800,000. Like, they'd lose, I think, but I don't think they'd lose by much. But the thing that sucks about that is if they were to do something like that, all that would do, and in a way it would be frustrating, it would show you that when WWE wants, they can give us good Monday Night Raws. Because if you put AEW up against Raw, AEW takes a big chunk out of their ratings. Next thing you know, WWE's booking the shit out of these Monday Night Raws, just like they did with NXT, sending Roman Reigns there and everything. Next thing you know, you got, the brand split and the brand, the draft is even less meaningful than it already is. And you got Roman on the show now, and you got all these things happening, and WWE probably is going to provide a lot better content on Monday night. So AEW could help us out as wrestling fans, as Raw fans, by moving to Monday and forcing them to not be idiots for 3 hours every single Monday night. But I don't think they'll do that. They should probably just, stay where they're at, Wednesday night Dynamite, or maybe move, another night of the week going head to head against Raw. Maybe they have to be around for a while before they decide they might want to do that. But I think they would perform much better than TNA did. Because they were only getting a third or a fourth, back then of WWE. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I want to say it was like in the mid 3s to maybe low 4s. That might be overshooting it. That's where I think the ratings might have been for WWE Raw, like 3.5, 4.2, somewhere in that margin. And then for TNA, they were like 1.1s or under 1 million viewers. I mean, it was like 3 to 4 times more than their rating. And I don't think AEW would get beaten that badly. I don't. Think about all the AEW fans. Think about the AEW fans that you come into contact with on a daily basis on social media. Do they sound like the type of people that if they had the choice between AEW and Raw, that they would pick Raw? I think AEW would take a lot more viewers away from Raw than Raw would take away from AEW, because AEW's got their core base that ain't fucking budging. It's the same 800,000 people every week tuning into their show, So I don't think a hardcore AEW fan with an AEW sweatshirt and shirt and shit all over their fucking room, is going to say, oh, I guess I got to watch Raw now. No, I'll tape Raw. I'll get back to Raw. I'm going to watch AEW. Those fans are there, and they're there enough to make a difference in the ratings to where, like I said, they wouldn't beat them, but they wouldn't get their ass kicked either. So kind of like Texas. Trump's going to win it. They ain't going to win by much. And that's could be a good indicator of what's going on nationally. The fact that fucking state is purple, not good. Not good for the red team. Yeah, they did want to have Dynamite on Tuesday, didn't they? Tuesday night, Dynamite. Wednesday's all right. I'm fine with Wednesday. I just want them to stay and not bounce around too much. That's what I worry about. Because there's been talk. How long have we been talking about NXT going to another night? That's been going on for a couple of months now, that they might want to run away from those ratings, in that competition, and just kind of do our own thing. And that in turn could make AEW react. But if they build an audience on Wednesday, they should keep that audience on Wednesday, especially if you get people accustomed and used to watching it on those nights. I like stability, as a wrestling fan. I don't like things changing all the time. And, you look at WWE, who's had Raw on Mondays ever since 1993, and they've never changed nights aside from nights when they've gotten preempted or bumped or something like that. And you've had a random Tuesday show, a random Friday show, or a Thursday Raw Thursday. Aside from that, they're coming up on 30 years here soon. They're on 27 years right now, 28 years in just a couple of months of Monday Night Raw on Mondays. You should try to build that, and say, this is the night for wrestling, or this is the night for AEW. So, nowadays with TV deals and other sports and other, contracts and stuff, it's really hard to form that long of a relationship and a commitment, not only with a TV station, but, with fans alike. I think Wednesdays is the best place for them to be. Forever. Wednesday nights. And yeah, who knows? That was another big problem I had with I hate that WWE names belts after the brands they're on, because then that puts them in a situation like we saw with the tag team titles where it fucks shit up. TNT or AEW made an equally big mistake, I think, by naming their secondary title the TNT Championship instead of the TV title or the Intercontinental or something else. They've now named it after the station they're on. So what happens if they're not on TNT? What if they get moved to another branch of Turner? What if they just What if their contract runs out or they're not renewed with Turner in general and they have to go somewhere else and they have to go to the Sci-Fi Network or whatever, and then you're defending the Food Network title on Wednesdays. I don't think it was a smart decision. I think maybe it was a way to kiss up to the network. Hey, we'll put your your TV logo on the your cable station logo on our belt or something. But all in all, I think it's gonna harm their record books, because I cannot imagine if this company is around 30 years from now, it's still being called the TNT Championship. It's going to be changing a lot. So if you move networks, just don't change it to the network. Just call it something else. TV title will be okay. I don't know if they're allowed to say U.S. title or Intercontinental. Probably are. Just call it something else. Call it the Firecracker title. I don't know. Anything. Is going on a different night the same as going on a different network? Kind of. I mean, it's still a big. It's still going to take a Destination America. No way. It's still going to take a lot of promoting to let fans know what you're doing if you're changing nights or changing TV stations. Changing nights, I think, will be easier because you're not leaving that station, and then you're not promoting another station or another channel on your current channel. WWE found themselves in that position back in the day when they moved from USA to TNN. And they didn't mention much. It was just a couple of here or there comments by Jim Ross. We're moving to TNN next week or whatever. And there was a lot of promotion on TNN with the whole We Got Pop shit that they were doing. So dumb. But over on USA, they weren't, it's not like they were telling us, but they weren't hammering it into our heads. Probably because USA didn't want them to. But they came home. How long did that last? That was about 4 years or whatever. 3 years. They went to TNN, came back around 2005. 5 years, I think. 2000 they left. Oh, wow, that's a great story, James. SmackDown Thursdays was the best. It got you ready for the weekend. When I was like 7 or 8 growing up in Richardson outside of Dallas, we all talked about wrestling in school the next day. Yeah, having wrestling on Thursday is fun because then you get to go into school. It's a Friday. You're already jacked for the weekend. You can talk to your friends, talk about wrestling. It was probably pretty good for a kid. I struggled to watch SmackDown in the early years of SmackDown because where I lived at the time didn't have UPN. And UPN was like a network station available in a lot of homes. But for some reason, not my home. And I never had UPN in southern North Carolina when I lived there. So it wasn't until I moved to the beach that I got a satellite. Well, my roommate and I just decided to switch to satellite randomly. And we got Dish Network, or what the fuck it was back then, put into our house, which allowed me to get UPN. And then for like a year or two, I was able to watch SmackDown, but then I went back to cable and I wasn't able to watch SmackDown again. It wasn't until it moved, because after UPN, I don't know where it went. But it took a while for it to land on a station or a channel that I could actually watch. So a lot of times I would have to make do without. But some of those great days, some of those great years of like Eddie, Benoit, Edge, and Ray, I missed a lot of that. I caught up with it. I was able to see, these matches, but in terms of watching SmackDown straight through, there's a few years there, probably 2 or 3 years of SmackDown that I wasn't able to see every week. By then, we had internet and stuff, so I was able to read results. YouTube wasn't quite a thing yet, but you could still find out what happened. And I remember just doing a lot of reading results around that time on the interwebs. I don't know. We did hear about Melina returning to WWE, didn't we? And she has not appeared yet, so I don't know what the latest with her was. I guess that was a rumor. Once it was reported, she did come out and say that it wasn't true. But a lot of talent does that when it's leaked that they're coming back. Maybe that's who Angel Garza is going to give the rose to. I don't know. She'll probably be on SmackDown, I guess, though. I don't know what the relationship is between her and Morrison. I'm assuming they're all right, but who knows? Oh, that's right. They went to WB. That's when I got to watch it, because WB I always got where I lived. And did WB morph into CW, or were those two different channels? I forgot. Yeah, you guys are lucky. You got to go to school. Well, I was lucky too, but you got to go to school and talk about this stuff in the Attitude Era. I was long out of school by the time the Attitude Era rolled around, but I remember, back in the day, I remember talking about WrestleMania 3. Right after that, going to school and being asked a bunch of questions about that. I remember talking about WrestleMania 2. I remember talking about WrestleMania 6 at school and a couple of shows like that. That was fun, man. It was great conversation material for the lunchroom. You're eating your nasty ass food they give you. Oh yeah, My Network TV too. That's another station or another channel I did not get. I never got My Network TV, which with whatever. And by the time I moved down to the beach in North Carolina, I had Time Warner cable, but there was so much they didn't have, and that was one of them. I really struggled to find SmackDown for so many years. Oh wow, I never saw any OVW on. That's really cool on WB. A lot of that I missed as well. That's right. Yeah, well, I remember. Yeah, the WB. That's why I get WB and CW confused because I used to live in Wilmington where they filmed Dawson's Creek, and they also filmed One Tree Hill. And I thought they were on different stations, but I guess kind of it was the same. But my restaurant, we used to handle the closing the wrap parties, for every season for Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill, where the entire crew and actors and staff would come and we'd throw them a big party at the restaurant. We did that every year for both shows, and I noticed when Dawson's Creek left and One Tree Hill came in, a lot of the same producers and production crew was retained. They all, I recognize a lot of faces from before, so a lot of the Dawson's Creek people just went and worked on the One Tree Hill show, from a behind the scenes standpoint and stuff. But the station, the TV channel always confused me. I don't know, Ryan, if Io Shirai drops the NXT title in a multi-person match to protect her. Depends on who they're passing the belt to. If she's in there with somebody like Candice LeRae and a Dakota Kai, for example, then yeah, something like that I think would be best. But if she's facing, if they have plans to put the title on Ripley again, I think Ripley should just beat her. Just straight out. Won't hurt Io at all to lose to Rhea Ripley. Rhea's a boss. So that's kind of what I would like them to do. I thought that Candice was going to win the title. There was some rumors that we could have potentially, possibly, maybe, sort of seen the debut of Tessa Blanchard at Halloween Havoc, but COVID plans changed that. Maybe that was the initial finish, and Candice was going to win the title. We were going to do a double champion thing with the Garganos, and I think that would be fun for Rhea Ripley to put down Candice and win the title after that. But Rhea and Io Shirai will be a much better match, and I'm hoping they do that for whenever the next big NXT show is. Feels like they're going to do a War Games with Pat McAfee's crew and the Undisputed Era now that Pete Dunne has joined McAfee. But I don't know when that's going to be, if it's going to be reserved for a takeover or if they're going to treat it like Halloween Havoc and do it on a Wednesday. I wouldn't be opposed from that at all. Opposed to that at all. I think you need to make your Wednesdays as good as possible and throw a great one at us every now and then. We saw what Halloween Havoc could do. It won pretty handily in the ratings over AEW, so do some theme shows like that and see what happens. Yeah, TNN back in the day, they went through some changes because they were the Nashville network and it was like this country music station, but then they went through like an identity change sort of where they were going to start carrying other programming. That's when they lured WWE over, changed their logo, changed their entire presentation of what the Nashville network was, but then just a few years after that, they changed to Spike TV. And that was strange too. WWE did the right thing going back to USA. Probably should have never left. Okay. Sheridan O'Donnell, I will give you $500 if you drink the water in your toilet. Send it. Send it through. I got a clean ass toilet, man. You give me $500, I'll totally take a sip right now. I'll wait for the super chat. Yes, that's true. This week on Wednesday night, we've got Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai. All right, Zane, take care, man. Thanks for joining us tonight. I am right behind you now that we've been streaming for about 2 hours. And I think I'm going to get out of here as well. Yep. I think that's going to be it. So good. Luckily, I don't have to do any toilet water drinking. I was hoping when I woke up this morning, I said to myself, I don't know what's going to happen today. I just hope I don't have to drink out of the toilet. And it looks like I'm going to make it. So that is a plus. I want to thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Make sure if you're of age and you haven't yet, go out tomorrow and vote. There's nothing more American you can do than vote. So just please go do that. Tomorrow will be an interesting day, to say the least, in our country. And if you're watching in another country, just sit back and pop some popcorn and watch the circus, because that's exactly what it's going to be. No matter what, it's going to make for an interesting day on social media. It's going to make it for an interesting day everywhere. And follow me over on Twitter at GoodMikeWork right now if you want to know all my play-by-play thoughts on it, because my political feelings I usually keep more vocal over there, and we try to make this just about wrestling. But, it's kind of hard to ignore, what's going to happen tomorrow. Pretty monumental election, and one that I think is going to go down as probably one of the most important we've ever done. A record number of voter turnout. Everybody is very enthusiastic and ambitious and motivated to vote, which you don't get in a lot of elections. You get a lot of cynics. Oh, they both suck. I don't care who wins. Shit like that. That ain't happening this time. Just based on everything that we've seen and all of these crazy early voting numbers, the American people are speaking. And tomorrow we find out what they say. I'm pretty confident I know what they're going to say, but I also know that anything can happen. So we'll wait and see. I'm going to be I think the best thing for me to do tomorrow is probably just get real drunk, because that way I win either way. If I don't get the outcome I want, hey, I'm drunk. I don't care. You can tweet all the nasty shit to, good mic work, suck it, Trump won. I won't even see it because I'll just be drunk. And then if he loses, I'll be celebrating drunk. So either way, I'll get through tomorrow. I'll survive. Sometimes I give this country a lot of shit for being stupid, having a lot of stupid people in it, having a lot of stupid ways of life, and we are sometimes I don't think there's anything to be proud of, but I also want to give this country props when I think that they do rise up and do the right thing, and I think that's going on right now. And maybe a little bit of my faith in America and is going to be restored, knowing that people are saying, okay, let's go out there, and let's make this happen ourselves. We have the voice. It's our decision. And I think that's going to happen. And I think it's going to be a pretty monumental victory on one side. I know there's 2016. I know the polls are wrong. Even if they were wrong in the exact same way that they were 4 years ago, it still is not any better for team rotting Halloween pumpkin. So I think it's going to go one way. We'll see. Either way, it's going to be hilarious to watch everybody's reaction. Mine, your friends, your parents, your crazy uncle, anybody on, I'm not on Facebook, thank God. But you folks that are, I'm sure it's a hoot right now over there, especially since Facebook is filled with so many family members, things like that. You're not my mother anymore, and you support this person and I support this. So much just infighting. It's a mess. It's a dumpster fire here in this country. If you're watching from another country, like I said, I know you are entertained as hell with our reality TV show type life that we live here. And tomorrow will be a lot of fun. But whatever side you're on, whatever you fucking think, go out and vote. Just vote. Because I know what's going to happen if everybody votes. And when not a lot of people turn out, that goes a certain way. That's why one side does not want you to vote. That's why one side wants to make it harder for you to vote and as hard for you to vote as possible. And I felt guilty. When I voted here in San Diego, it was the easiest and most hassle-free thing I've ever done. It took no time at all. Filled out my ballot, sealed it, drove it a mile away, dropped it in the box, done. Where some people tomorrow are going to be waiting out in freezing cold, waiting out in the rain, driving an hour away, struggling to get off of work because the polls close early, waiting in line for, hours and hours on end, only to get to the end of the line when the polls close and you can't vote. All that, disgusting suppression is happening, and it's happening for real in a lot of parts, especially in the South of this country, and it makes you sick to your stomach, especially when I've got this cushy way of voting here. The thing came right to me in the mail, boom, 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 seal it up, drop it in the box. It took negative effort, to vote, and I feel like it should be that way for everyone. And if it was, you would really truly feel like your vote is counted and your voice does matter. So I choose not to be a cynic this time. I choose to put my faith in America and choose to put my faith in the citizens of this country to not continue down this horrifically horrible road that we have been on. That's just been an absolute nightmare. So I feel like I've been taking a 4-year shower, and tomorrow I will be so fresh and so clean. You guys take care. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. I will catch you Saturday night. Actually, I might catch you earlier than that. Keep a lookout Friday, possibly even Thursday. Full Gear predictions, quick stream, less than an hour. Saturday night after Full Gear is over, we'll be up here for a Winged Eagle. We'll talk about the pay-per-view. We'll talk about the results, and we'll talk about whatever went on in the week of wrestling, Wednesday night, Friday night, any more we have to discuss about tonight, and any more Survivor Series information. We'll all be coming to you on Saturday. So have a good rest of your Monday. Good luck tomorrow. Stay sane, stay safe, and love one another. Take care. Peace.